We're going to cover lesson 8.4. That's on choosing the appropriate graph, the type of graph that you should use based on what it is that you're trying to display. Okay? This lesson is all about thinking back to the types of graphs that we talked about. What are some of the types of graphs we talked about? Bar graphs, circle graphs, line graphs, stem and leaf graphs, double bar graphs, histograms. Yeah, pie graphs are the same as circle graphs. Yep. And then there is advantages to using all of these different types of graphs. Okay? They work, well, this pictograph here, pictographs are specific to showing the best for small items, especially if you just have a few different subjects. Okay? For example, we talked about using pictures to represent a multiple of 3. Alright? We're showing groups of 3 people. But we talked about how each of these graphs has advantages. A double bar graph, comparing 2 different groups within a category. Boys and girls, for example, when we were surveying the population for voting, and we wanted to keep track of both the total and for boys and girls. We talked about line graphs. What are some advantages of line graphs? What do they specifically show, Brett?
They show trends.
Trends over
Time.
Over time, right. And circle graphs are always the best for comparing and showing how much out of the total, right, which is a percentage of the total, part of the total. That's called a percent. Or it's just showing it how much out of the total. So anytime you're reading something and you know you want to display an amount out of the total, you should choose a circle graph for that. A histogram, especially best for showing a graph of a group amount. Alright, so we talked about showing ages and an age group for certain things. Okay? Carson?
Can a histogram and line graph be used for the same thing?
Well, no, not exactly. A line graph shows one thing over time, but a histogram shows a group. Okay, and how the group is, how groups differ, but it can also show a trend.
So doesn't a bar graph just do that?
Well, yes, but in a different way, because in a regular bar graph, the bars are not together, they're separated.
You can still tell the trend.
You can, yeah. It's just not the best for showing trends. Okay? And then we talked about stem and leaf graphs, more about histograms, and then pictographs. So, go to page 234. What is the pictograph being used for at the top of page 235? Nate?
Number of triples by 7 Pittsburgh Pirates players.
Yeah, yep. And what does one baseball represent?
2 triples.
2 triples, yep. Every baseball in the picture represents 2 triples. Okay? Do you recognize any of those players?
Oh, yeah.
Names?
Oh. I haven't played baseball.
No?
Sanchez.
Bay, that's Jason Bay. He used to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And Sanchez.
And Giles is Brian Giles. He used to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Sanchez.
Freddie Sanchez,
Yeah.
I think. Yep. All right. So there's an example of it's just specifically showing triples, hits that are triples, and each baseball representing how many triples. So that's a way of showing pictograph. Let's go to the guided practice. Number 1. Who wants to read number 1? Alex?
Okay, example 1, right? or
Yep.
no.
Guided practice,
Yeah.
number 1.
Alonso records the number of sixth graders who play on baseball teams in 2003, 2004, 2005, and 2006. Since the data changes over time, what graph would be the most appropriate for the set of the data? Should I say the answer?
Yeah.
Bar graph?
Well, since you are specifically, you want to see changes over
And
time.
histogram. Or line graph.
Line graph. Line graph. This is time. And we want to see how it changes over time. So it might go like this. Okay? And that's the best for a line graph. That's showing change over time. Okay? Number 2. Cole?
A research company counts the number of hot dogs sold by 3 different companies in one
What would be the best for that? I would think of 2 of them that would probably be best. 2 different ways. What would be one possible way?
A bar graph?
Bar graph. The research company counts the number of hot dogs sold by 3 different stands around the stadium. So it's specific
Oh,
to
a
the stadium.
pictograph.
A pictograph would be a great way.
Pies, yeah.
A pie graph would be another great way because you have a total number of hot dogs sold and then how many each company sold, okay?
You could use a histogram.
Let's see, well,
This, yeah, because it's
That's-
one in the north, one in the north of the stadium, one in the south, one in the east or whatever.
yeah, but that's not showing really a category. Remember, histograms are specifically used if you want to display different categories of things, okay? So for example, let's say that it was talking about the ages of people that bought hot dogs around the stadium, all right? That might be a good way for a histogram. How many hot dogs were sold to kids 10 and under, okay, 20 and under, 30 and under, and so on. How about number 3? Roy?
The school board determines how much the total school supports budget allows for baseball, basketball, soccer, and tennis.
Yep, so it's out of the total. What do you think?
Pie.
A pie graph. Yep, circle graph would be best. Because it's showing the number of sports out of the total. Mhm. How about this one, number 4? Jeremiah?
Get low one.
Jason groups the ages of 50 people whose favorite sport is
Yep.
baseball into
Intervals, that word is.
intervals of time.
Yep. That one specifically gives you some key words. Which type of graph uses intervals and groups of people, groups of ages?
Histogram.
Histogram, very good. Yep. Yeah. Number 6. Go to number 6. Tyler.
The amount of the total practice time spent each with drill and soccer practice. Pie graph.
Good, a pie graph. Again, it's the amount out of the total, right? Number 7. Bryce.
The number of hits David and Josie made each baseball season for the last 4 years. Probably a line.
Well, it's 2 people over
2. A double bar graph.
double bar graph. Very good. The number of hits David and Jose made each baseball season for the last 4 years. So a double bar graph would be perfect for that. Comparing them each for those 4 years. Okay?
Couldn't a double line graph work?
A double line graph could work if you wanted to see a trend. So if one was hitting a number like was up here and the other one was down here, but then they passed each other, okay? Whereas one person is declining and the other one is going up, then a line graph. But specifically just comparing their hits over 4 years would be a double bar graph, would be best, okay? So, all of those cover, that covers all the different types of graphs that you're gonna have to choose when you're doing the test. Alright? They're gonna test you on whether or not you can figure out, based on the information given, which type of graph would be best for displaying that information, okay? And that's what lesson 8.4 is all about, is choosing the best graph.